There is a moment every single ARMY has been waiting for since the very first date of the Arirang World Tour was announced. And today, that moment finally arrives. For the first time in his entire career, Jimin is about to set foot on a stage in Belgium. Not Seoul, not Tokyo, not Las Vegas, not even Madrid, where he just gave 2 nights that left an entire stadium in tears. Belgium, a country BTS has never performed in before. Not once. Not even during the peak of their pre-hiatus world domination. And if you think this is just another stop on a long tour schedule, stay with me for the next few minutes, because what's actually happening behind this show is so much bigger than a checkbox on a set list. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why ARMY in Brussels might be about to witness something Madrid never even got close to. Let's set the scene first, because context is everything here. Just days ago, Jimin stood on a 360-degree stage inside the Riyadh Air Metropolitano in Madrid, in front of more than 66,000 people, for BTS's very first performances ever on Spanish soil. 2 nights, 2 sold-out shows, thousands of fans who had waited years, some of them since before the military hiatus even began, finally got to see him in person. And by every account coming out of that stadium, it wasn't just a concert. It was catharsis. It was years of longing collapsing into 2 unforgettable nights. Now imagine carrying that emotional weight, that physical exhaustion, that overwhelming outpouring of love, and getting on a plane less than 72 hours later to do it all again, in a brand new country, in front of people who have never once had the chance to see him live before. That's exactly where Jimin is right now. And if you've been following this tour closely, you already know that Jimin doesn't just show up and perform. He shows up and gives everything he has, every single time, no matter how tired he is. So what does that mean for tonight in Brussels? Before we go further, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now, because we are tracking every single moment of this historic tour in real time. And trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming next. Also, drop a comment below telling me which BTS show you fly anywhere in the world to see live, because I read every single one of them, and I want to know if Brussels is on your list. Now here's what makes tonight different from almost every other stop on this tour. Belgium has never had a BTS concert. Not during the Wings era, not during Love Yourself, not during Map of the Soul, not even during the massive Permission to Dance run that broke records across North America. For over a decade, Belgian ARMY have watched live streams, imported albums, made pilgrimages to neighboring countries just to catch a glimpse of their favorite group, and tonight, that decade-long wait ends. The King Baudouin Stadium, one of the most iconic venues in Europe, is about to turn purple for the very first time in its history, and Jimin, along with the rest of BTS, is walking into a moment that Belgium fans have quite literally never experienced before. 2 nights, July 1st and July 2nd, both completely sold out within moments of tickets going live. Local transportation authorities have rolled out special night trains and expanded bus routes just to handle the sheer volume of fans expected to descend on Brussels. Think about that for a second. An entire city's public transportation system reorganized itself around one group's arrival. That's the scale we're talking about here. But here's where it gets personal, and here's the part that I think most people are completely missing. For Jimin specifically, this isn't just another stadium. If you've followed his journey over the past few months since BTS has come back, you know that Jimin has spent an enormous amount of time in Europe already this year, but almost entirely in a fashion context. As Dior's global ambassador, he's walked into the most exclusive rooms in Paris, sat front row at haute couture shows, been photographed in velvet coats inspired by 18th century French nobility. He's been Prince Jimin to the fashion world, celebrated for his elegance, his poise, his effortless magnetism in rooms full of the most influential people in the industry. But there's a massive difference between being admired from a front row seat at a fashion show and standing in the center of a 360-degree stage in front of 60,000 people who came specifically, only, and entirely for him and his bandmates. Tonight, Jimin isn't the guest of honor at someone else's event. Tonight, Belgium belongs to him and BTS completely. And if Madrid taught us anything, it's that Jimin performs differently when a crowd is experiencing something for the very first time. Something happens in those moments. Fans who attended the Madrid shows have been describing an energy from Jimin that felt almost desperate in the most beautiful way, like he understood exactly what this moment meant to people who had waited years just to be in the same room as him. He didn't hold anything back. Every dance break was sharper. Every vocal run carried more weight. Every glance toward the crowd felt intentional, like he was trying to make eye contact with as many individual people as physically possible in the span of a 2-hour show. If that's what happened in a country BTS had simply never visited before, what do you think happens tonight? In a stadium that's never once hosted them, in a country that has waited over a decade for this exact moment? Now let's talk about something ARMY have been buzzing about for weeks, because I think it's the key to understanding why tonight could be even more emotional than Madrid. Unlike some of the tour's other European stops, Brussels sits in this unique cultural pocket, close enough to Paris that it's practically an extension of the Fashion Week circuit Jimin has spent months building relationships in, yet completely untouched by BTS as a performing group. That means there's a real possibility, one that fans have been speculating about across every platform, that faces from Jimin's fashion world, people he's built genuine friendships with through Dior and beyond, could show up in that crowd tonight. Imagine the moment where Jimin looks out into a sea of 60,000 ARMY and spots someone from that entirely different chapter of his life standing among them. We don't know for certain if that's going to happen, but the fact that so many fans are already anticipating it tells you everything about how deeply people are paying attention to every single detail of Jimin's movements right now. If you're enjoying this breakdown, do me a favor and hit that like button, because it genuinely helps this video reach more ARMY who need to see this before the show starts tonight. And if you haven't already, turn on notifications, because the moment official clips and fan cams start coming out of Brussels, we are covering it immediately, and you don't want to be scrolling through your feed hours late trying to catch up. Let's talk about the physical toll for a second, because I think this gets overlooked constantly when people talk about world tours like this. Jimin has now performed in Busan, in Madrid twice, and is about to perform in Brussels twice, all within an incredibly compressed window of weeks, while also fulfilling major Fashion Week obligations for Dior in between. That's not a light schedule. That's one of the most demanding stretches of his entire career, arguably even more intense than the pre-hiatus years, because now he's doing it while simultaneously managing global brand ambassador duties that require entirely different types of energy and presentation. Fans who caught glimpses of him in Paris right before this leg of the tour noted that he looked visibly tired in some candid moments, yet somehow, every single time he steps onto that stage, something shifts. The exhaustion seems to disappear, replaced by this almost otherworldly stage presence that has become one of his defining signatures as a performer. Rolling Stone recently recognized him as BTS's best dancer, and if you've seen any clips from this tour, you understand exactly why that title matters. His movement on stage isn't just technically precise, it's emotionally charged in a way that very few performers in the world can replicate. So what can Belgium expect tonight that Madrid maybe didn't get? Here's my honest prediction, and I want you to comment below whether you agree or disagree, because I think this is going to spark a real conversation. I believe tonight's show is going to lean even harder into raw emotion than Madrid did, specifically because of the symbolic weight of it being Belgium's very first time hosting BTS at all. When a country has literally never had the chance to see a group live before, there's this unspoken pressure and honor that performers like Jimin seem to internalize deeply. He's someone who has spoken openly in the past about wanting every fan, no matter where they are in the world, to feel like they matter just as much as the fans in Seoul. Tonight is his chance to prove that to an entire country that has waited over a decade for the opportunity. And let's not forget the setlist itself, because even though the core structure has remained largely consistent across the European leg, there have been small but meaningful variations at different stops, songs swapped in and out depending on the city, depending on the moment, depending on what the members are feeling that night. If Busan taught us anything, it's that BTS is willing to adjust in real time to match the emotional register of wherever they are. Could Brussels get a surprise swap? Something unexpected slipped into the set specifically because it's a debut show in a brand new country. We genuinely don't know yet, and that unpredictability is exactly what makes tonight must-watch, whether you're there in person or following along online. Speaking of following along, if you're not able to be in that stadium tonight, you are absolutely not alone. And that's exactly why this channel exists. The moment fan cams, official highlights, and Weber's content start rolling in from Brussels, we're going to be breaking it all down for you, moment by moment, the same way we did with Madrid. So if you want to feel like you were there, even from thousands of miles away, make sure you're subscribed and your notifications are on, because trust me, some of the best BTS content this year is about to come out of tonight and tomorrow night in Brussels. Now let's zoom out for a second, because I think it's worth appreciating just how far Jimin has come to even arrive at this exact moment. Less than 2 years ago, he was completing mandatory military service, stepping away from the stage entirely for an extended period that left millions of fans counting down days on calendars. The idea of him standing in the center of a sold-out European stadium in a country BTS had never performed in might have felt like a distant dream during those months of separation. And yet here we are. The comeback happened. The album arrived. The tour began in Goyang, swept through Asia, crossed into North America, and has now landed in Europe, growing bigger and more emotionally charged with every single stop. Brussels isn't just another date on a calendar. It's proof of just how completely BTS, and Jimin specifically, have rebuilt and expanded their global reach in the aftermath of the hiatus. There's also something worth mentioning about Jimin's relationship with First in general, because if you look back across his career, some of his most iconic, most talked about performance moments have come during debut shows in new locations. There's something about the pressure and the novelty of a first-time performance that seems to bring out an extra layer of intensity in him. He tends to treat these moments like statements, like he's not just performing a set list, but actually introducing himself and the group to an entirely new audience for the very first time. If that pattern holds tonight, Belgium isn't just getting a great show. Belgium is getting the version of Jimin who understands he's making a first impression that will be remembered for years, maybe even decades, by everyone in that stadium. Let's also talk about something that doesn't get discussed enough, which is the sheer logistical undertaking of what's happening in Brussels this week. We mentioned earlier that local transportation systems reorganized entirely around these two shows, but think about what that actually represents. A city preparing an entire mobility plan, special night trains, expanded public transit capacity, dedicated concert buses arriving from dozens of different cities across the region, all because of 2 nights of performances. That level of infrastructure response tells you everything about the scale of what Jimin and BTS have built. This isn't a niche interest anymore if it ever was. This is a cultural event significant enough to reshape how an entire capital city moves for 48 hours. And for the army who managed to secure tickets to tonight's show, I want you to really sit with how lucky you are for a second, because you are about to witness history. Not history in some abstract, distant sense, but literal, tangible history. You are going to be inside the room, the very first time Jimin performs in your country. Years from now, when people talk about the European leg of the Erarang tour, Brussels is going to come up as one of the defining stops, precisely because it was a first. And you're going to be able to say you were there for it. If you're watching this before the show starts tonight, drop a comment letting me know if you're heading to King Baudouin Stadium, or if you're watching from home like most of us. I want this comment section to become a place where ARMY from all over the world can connect before this historic show kicks off. So don't be shy, say hello, tell us where you're watching from, and let's build some anticipation together before the lights go down tonight. One more thing before we wrap up, because I think it's important context for understanding just how emotionally significant tonight could be. Jimin has talked in the past, in various interviews and lives, about feeling a genuine sense of responsibility toward fans who don't get to see the group as often, fans in smaller markets, fans in countries that often get overlooked when it comes to major world tours. Belgium fits that description perfectly. It's a country with a passionate, dedicated ARMY community that has never once had the chance to prove that dedication in person at a BTS show in their own country. If Jimin carries even a fraction of that sense of responsibility into tonight's performance, and every single indication from his history suggests he will, then what unfolds in Brussels over these 2 nights could end up being remembered as one of the most emotionally powerful stops on the entire tour. So here's what I want you to do right now, before you close this video. First, hit subscribe if you haven't already, because we're covering every single moment of this historic European leg, and Brussels is just getting started. Second, hit that like button. It genuinely makes a massive difference in helping this reach more ARMY who need to see it. Third, Drop a comment telling me what you think is going to happen tonight. Whether it's a surprise setlist change, an emotional moment between Jimin and the crowd, or just your honest excitement about Belgium finally getting its first BTS show. And finally, turn on notifications, because the second footage starts coming out of King Baudouin Stadium tonight. We are going to be right here breaking it all down for you. Jimin is about to walk onto a stage in a country that has waited over a decade for this exact night. Whatever happens next, one thing is certain: Belgium is never going to forget the first time BTS and Jimin stepped onto that stage. Make sure you're here with us when it happens. Subscribe now, and I'll see you in the next video with everything that goes down tonight in Brussels.